Let's go Ravens. What if the missing piece to unlock the most dangerous version of Lamar Jackson's career is suddenly within reach, and it's a name that would shock the entire league? Because, right now, behind the scenes, there's serious buzz linking Baltimore to A.J. Brown. Not a minor upgrade, not a roster boost, a true alpha, a physical, dominant, game-changing receiver who could instantly transform this offense from explosive to unstoppable. Before we delve into all of this, I need to know where the true Ravens fans are. If you believe this team should go all in on winning the Super Bowl in 2026, click the like button right now. And if you've been a Ravens fan for over 20 years, comment below, go Ravens. My heart beats purple and black. I want to see who's truly ready for this team to take the next step. Let's talk about the proposed structure that has people buzzing. The framework discussed includes a 2027 second-round pick, a 2027 fourth-round pick, and wide receiver Rashad Bateman in exchange for A.J. Brown. And yes, those are 2027 picks, not 2026. The reasoning behind that is directly tied to salary cap implications. If Philadelphia were to move Brown before June 1st, they would absorb a staggering $48.9 million in dead money in 2026. That makes a post-June 1st trade far more realistic. And if that happens after the 2026 NFL draft, Baltimore would be dealing future picks, not touching this year's draft capital. Now pause for a second and really think about what that means. The Ravens would still keep the 14th overall pick in 2026. They would still have 3 selections in the top 100. That gives them complete flexibility to attack the trenches early and often offensive line, defensive line, or both, while adding an elite, proven wide receiver via trade. That is roster construction at its finest. One of the clearest lessons from the Ravens' 2025 season was that the current group of pass catchers was not enough. Yes, Zay Flowers is a dynamic weapon, but beyond Flowers, do you feel absolute confidence in that room? The production simply did not match what a Super Bowl contending offense requires. Adding A.J. Brown changes that equation instantly. Think about the fit. Brown gives Lamar Jackson something he has never truly had in his prime years. A dominant, big-bodied, contested catch receiver who can win at the goal line and bully defensive backs on third down. Yes, you could mention DeAndre Hopkins in past discussions, but the 2025 version was not the same player from earlier in his career. A.J. Brown, even if slightly past his absolute peak, remains one of the most physically imposing and explosive receivers in the league. Look at the production. Back-to-back 1,400-yard seasons in 2022 and 2023 with Philadelphia. That kind of consistency is rare, and he did that in an offense that struggled with creativity and explosiveness at times. Now imagine him in Baltimore's system, especially with offensive coordinator Declan Doyle emphasizing explosiveness. Brown thrives on vertical routes, contested situations, and yards after catch. He is not just a possession target, he is a momentum-shifting presence. There were frustrations in Philadelphia late in the season. Sideline moments. Tension in an offense that many observers described as stagnant. Some may label that as diva behavior, but others see a competitor frustrated with scheme limitations. In Baltimore, paired with Lamar's playmaking ability and the power run threat of Derrick Henry, defenses would be forced into impossible choices. Stack the box to slow Henry? Brown punishes you outside. Play too high coverage? Lamar finds space underneath or takes off himself. And here is another layer Ravens fans cannot ignore. Derrick Henry himself has publicly expressed interest in the idea. During a Twitch stream, he actively recruited Brown. During Super Bowl week, he mentioned they would gladly welcome him. That kind of internal recruiting matters. Chemistry matters. Brown and Henry have history from their time together in Tennessee. There's familiarity there. From a front office perspective, this kind of move signals aggression. It signals belief that the championship window is wide open in 2026. The Ravens' projected win total has been set at 10.5. That is respect. But adding A.J. Brown could be the difference between a solid playoff team and a true Super Bowl threat. And let's not overlook the financial and strategic timing. By structuring it post-June 1st and using 2027 assets, Baltimore protects its 2026 draft flexibility. You can still build the trenches through the draft, keep your premium selections, and inject immediate star power into the passing game. This is not a minor tweak. This is a franchise-altering decision. It is the type of swing that could define Eric DeCosta's tenure over the next several seasons. At his best, A.J. Brown is a top 10 wide receiver. Some would argue top 5. He wins physically, he produces consistently, and he raises the ceiling of any offense he joins. And this is where things get even more interesting, because if you zoom out and really evaluate the full picture, this is not just about adding another name to the roster. This will be about redefining the identity of the offense for 2026 and beyond. When you look at what happened last season, the biggest takeaway was clear. The passing attack lacked consistency and physical dominance outside of Zay Flowers. Flowers is electric. He's explosive in space. He can take the top off a defense, but asking him to be the volume alpha receiver every single week mistake puts him in a role that may not maximize his strengths. Now imagine shifting him into a true WR2 role where he becomes the matchup nightmare instead of the primary defensive focus. That is exactly what analysts have suggested would happen if A.J. Brown arrives in Baltimore. A.J. Brown would command double teams. He would demand safety help. He would force defensive coordinators to make uncomfortable decisions. And once that happens, everything opens up. The middle of the field becomes lighter. Play action becomes even more dangerous. And with Lamar Jackson operating at MVP levels when protected and surrounded by talent, the offense could reach a completely different tier. We also can't ignore how this impacts red zone efficiency. One of the missing pieces in recent years has been that reliable, physical target near the goal line. Brown specializes in contested catches. He thrives in tight windows. He doesn't just catch the ball, he attacks it. That changes how defenses defend the 10-yard line and in. You can't just spy Lamar. You can't just stack against the run. Because if you leave Brown one-on-one, he wins more often than not. And let's talk about the draft strategy again because this is critical. The structure being discussed uses 2027 picks. That means the Ravens would still approach the 2026 draft with flexibility. They hold the 14th overall selection. They hold 3 picks inside the top 100. That gives them the freedom to go heavy on the trenches, offensive line, defensive line, or both, without sacrificing premium assets this year. You could walk away from draft weekend stronger in the trenches and then add A.J. Brown afterward. That's roster building with layers. Some fans will argue that wide receiver frustration in Philadelphia is a red flag. Yes, there were sideline moments. Yes, there was visible tension late in the year. But context matters. The offense struggled creatively. Production dipped in rhythm. And when elite competitors feel stagnation, they react. Sometimes loudly. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. Is that frustration about ego, or is it about wanting to win at the highest level? Now imagine Brown stepping into a locker room that features Derrick Henry, a player who has already publicly expressed enthusiasm about the idea of teaming up again. That chemistry matters. That familiarity matters. And when you combine that with Lamar's leadership and the culture in Baltimore, it could be the exact reset Brown needs. Another factor to consider is the win total projection sitting at 10.5. That's a solid number. It reflects respect across the league, but it doesn't scream dominant favorite. Adding a top-tier wide receiver shifts perception. It signals to the rest of the AFC that Baltimore is not content with being competitive. They're aiming to overwhelm. And let's be honest here, championship windows in the NFL are fragile. You have an elite quarterback. You have a punishing run game. You have a defense capable of playoff caliber performances. The margin between reaching the Super Bowl and falling short often comes down to 1 or 2 difference makers in January. A.J. Brown is a January type player. Physical, unshaken by cold weather, built for postseason football. The cost? A second rounder in 2027, a fourth rounder in 2027, and Rashad Bateman. Bateman received a $12 million extension last summer, and while he has shown flashes, the production has not consistently matched the draft pedigree. Philadelphia would be betting on a buy low scenario. Baltimore would be consolidating assets into proven production. It becomes a philosophical question for the front office. Do you value potential and future flexibility more than present certainty? Or do you push chips to the center of the table when your franchise quarterback is in his prime? Because make no mistake, if this move happens after June 1st as expected in these projections, it won't just be another offseason headline. It will reshape expectations immediately. Defensive coordinators across the AFC North would spend the entire summer recalibrating game plans. The ripple effect would be felt from training camp through the playoffs. So here's the big picture question as we wrap this up. If you're sitting in the front office and the call comes in confirming that the deal is exactly as discussed, 2027 second, 2027 fourth, and Rashad Bateman for A.J. Brown, are you all in? Do you believe this is the aggressive swing that pushes the Baltimore Ravens from contender to true favorite in 2026? Or would you rather stay patient and trust the draft process to fill the gaps? Tell me